What happens if you get sick? What happens if you get ill? What happens if there's another pandemic? What happens if there's a change in laws? What happens if intelligence come and takes your job or your business? It caught millions and millions of people off guard. I talk a lot about multiple streams of income, multiple streams of property income. I believe that unless you have multiple streams of income, you will ultimately continue to work until you die. Most people, their income streams come from a job or come from a business, which means they're having to earn money, exchange time for money. Property is a fantastic asset-backed income stream where you do the work once, you get paid for a lifetime.
How would you go about setting up your very first income stream?
In this episode of the Dealmaker podcast, I have got one of my special clients and expert in Lyme disease, Hannah Green. Hannah is actually going to be the co-host of this podcast for a number of episodes now, where Hannah is going to come in and she is going to interview me on certain topics and is going to absolutely grill me so I can give as much value out to you as possible. Now, make sure, leave us some questions, leave us some comments across the social media platforms. We will answer your questions as we go through the shows. And this is a great way where Hannah is going to get into my brain and I'm going to be sharing some great tips with you. So with that being said, I'm going to now pass you over to my co-host, Hannah. Hannah, over to you.
Thank you, Liam. I'm
Great.
really excited to be here to pick your brain.
Great.
And thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience.
No worries.
So let's get into it. The first topic is how to create income streams.
Okay, interesting.
So can you give us any information about how to set up and grow income streams?
Okay, so I talk a lot about multiple streams of income, multiple streams of property income. And I believe that unless you have multiple streams of income, you will ultimately continue to work until you die. And this is my experience, and it was my experience for many, many years, is that I only had one, maybe two forms of income streams. And this is the same for most people in the world and certainly in the UK. And most people, their income streams come from a job or come from a business, which means they're having to earn money, exchange time for money. What happens if you get sick? What happens if you get ill? What happens if there's another pandemic? What happens if there's a change in laws? What happens if artificial intelligence come and takes your job or your business? And if we just use the pandemic as an example, it caught millions and millions of people off guard. So my recommendation is to start focusing in on multiple streams of income where your income comes from assets and comes from investments. So one that everyone could start with could be property. And there's many different ways in which you can make money in property. You've got commercial conversions, you've got land development, you've got single lets, you've got rent to rent, you've got deal packaging. But property is a fantastic asset-backed income stream where you do the work once, you get paid for a lifetime. Do the work once, get paid for a lifetime. And the aim of the game is that you build up different income streams coming in from assets that ultimately make you money while you sleep. And it's that money that you then use to feed your lifestyle. So if you still want a job and you still want a business, and I'm not saying a job or business is bad, then great, fill your boots, but you're then no longer reliant on the job or business, because if you got sick or you lost your job or your business went tits up, you have got money coming in from different income streams. So an income stream is money coming into your household from different areas. And of course, it could be a job, it could be a business, but ultimately you want your income stream to be coming in from assets or investments.
Okay, great.
Great.
So how would you go about maybe setting up your very first income stream?
Okay, that's a really good question, because that could be quite daunting for a lot of people, because what most people do, they just work a living. They get a job, they get a business, they become an electrician or a teacher or a lecturer, and that's what they do for their entire life. And they are programmed by society to work hard, and what people need to do is they need to work smart. So it's a great question. Number one, you need to realize that you want to have other income streams. So you've got to have a desire. Look, some people don't. Some people are really happy. They earn 30 grand a year. They have a job. They've got a business. They couldn't be happier. And you know what? Fair play to them. Yeah. Good luck. I wish you all the best. Most people are not making the money they want to make. So you've got to have this high up on your values ladder. So the first thing is making a decision that you do want to become more successful, and you'd like to be in a position where you've got money coming into your household other than your job or your business. So how do you get the first one? My preferred option, because I've been doing it a long time, is to then become a part-time property investor alongside your job or business and focus in on 1 or 2 property strategies. How do you do that? You've got to get training. There's lots of podcasts. I've got my YouTube channel, Assets for Life. I now own the UK's leading property business and wealth training organisation, 47 members of staff. I've personally done £28 million worth of property deals in the last almost 10 years, raised over £10 million in joint venture funding. And we train people here on how to do that. So be it with us or with whoever, go and get some training in property so you don't make mistakes. And then just focus on getting some quick wins up and running. And I would focus, don't worry about 5 deals, don't worry about 10 deals. Just get that first deal over the line. See the impact it has on your life. And it's like, oh my goodness, this property's maybe 50,000, or this property's now going to generate me £3,000 a year cash flow, or this is a rent-to-rent SA property deal making me £15,000 a year. And hopefully once you've done one, you'll then want to go and do a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth.
Okay, so that all sounds simple. So, yeah, getting the training is really important. We know that. And mindset is really key as well, which the training will help with. So you mentioned some of the strategies there with properties. Can you just maybe talk about 1 or 2, maybe 2 of the simpler ones that people could think about?
Okay, no problem at all. So if you are someone tuning into this now, and let's just say you don't have a lot of income, or you're in some bad debt, or your drive, your biggest need and wants now is to replace income, maybe sack the boss, reduce hours, and perhaps you're feeling stressed out, overworked, overwhelmed, not feeling valued, and your main priority would be to generate some additional cash flow, then my recommendation is to start with something like rent-to-rent, serviced accommodation, or HMO. HMO is a house in multiple occupancy. It's a multi-let property. What is rent-to-rent? This is where you set up a company. You'll become a relocation agent. Of course, you'll have the right registrations, the right insurances. You'll register with the property ombudsman. You'll be set up as a fully pledged property business. And then you will make arrangements. You will make partnerships or deals with landlords and agents. And you will rent their properties, and your company will become liable for the rent. And then with the right legal framework contract, you are then allowed to use that property, their property, as a serviced accommodation or HMO with the right contract. A typical deal will make you around £12,000 to £15,000 per year. Okay, so it's like, people tuning in now, how many of them do you need to replace your income? Well, the average salary is about 30k in the UK. You might only need 2 or 3 of these, and all of a sudden you're up and running. And the great thing about rent to rent is that you don't have to own the asset. You've not necessarily got to go through loads of legal loopholes or massive credit checks, certainly if you're dealing direct to vendor. So it's minimum cash in, maximum profit out. Of course, there's work to do and you want systems and processes, but I would say that is one of the quickest ways to start generating some cash flow in property.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. So how much time, obviously there's going to be quite a bit of time invested in the learning and the training. And how much time typically would, say, your first couple of deals take to get set up in terms of time and energy and effort?
Great. So you can start this part-time for sure. And I've worked with people in the past that have done 40 hours and they're 40 hours spent in the wrong place, and other people that can only do 5 hours, but 5 hours in the right place, and all of a sudden they go and get the first 1, 2 or 3 deals. Look, realistically, you've got to be giving this 5 to 10 hours a week, focused in on high income generating tasks. So what is the most next important thing? Launching your website, calling the agent, putting in the offer, going in on viewings. So, most people are really busy, but you can get more efficient. So it's about becoming more efficient, using a diary system, really honing in on that big why. So yeah, people can get started 5 to 10 hours a week, so just part-time, but it's got to be focused and they need to be committed and it needs to be consistent. Can't be doing an hour on a Monday and then nothing else for 3 weeks, or 30 hours one week and then nothing for 3 weeks. Daily actions, I always try and break it down. 3 actions a day, 6 days a week. Let's just call it 20 actions. That's 80 actions a month. It's impossible not to do 80 small actions in a given calendar month and not get some sort of a result. Like, it's impossible not to. So why do people make mistakes? They don't do the 80 actions, or they don't do the 20 actions, or they get sidetracked. So yeah, part-time. And in terms of capital, you could literally get a rent-to-rent deal up and running from anywhere from a few £100 if you're dealing direct to vendor and you're a good negotiator, typically up to £3,000 to £5,000 to get the first deal over the line, because you need things like 1 month deposit, rent up front, you might need some furniture. But when you're doing rent-to-rent, you're not buying houses. You are renting houses or property from people, so you don't go and give it some big refurb, liquor paint at best. So minimum cash in, maximum profit out, 3 to 5 grand, 5 to 10 hours a week.
Okay, yep, that sounds good. So ordinary people are doing these strategies. Have you got any examples of people that you can think of that have just taken this? Maybe they started with nothing and they've just run with it and they've done incredibly well.
Okay, so number one, yes, I can. I've got hundreds of examples because we've been training people now for 8 years. We're in our 9th year now. We are the UK's leading property business and wealth training organisation. I've got 47 full-time members of staff. We have an incredible community. Now, you're part of that community. You've been on some of our trainings and you're one of our top experts in our speaker academy. And, you've been out on Thailand with us and had an incredible experience. So, look, I'd have to spend a whole week here if I reeled off all the names. But we've got Hajir. She went from 0 to 137 property deals. She used to be the perfume girl at Selfridges, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, minimum wage. She was the girl spraying you with the perfume from Algeria. English was her second language. We've got Rob Mason. He's managing now over 200 property deals. We've got the Dobson, 66 property deals. We got Laura North, 12 property deals. The list goes on and on and on and on. And something I do in Assets for Life is I have what's called the Hall of Fame. So 5 deals, 10 deals, 25 deals, 50 deals, 100 deals, 200 deals, £100,000 joint venture funding, 250, 500 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, and people get rewarded for their efforts. And it's a great community, and they're just some of the people, ordinary people like you and I, that have gone on to get extraordinary results.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
So this is happening for people, and it's something that you can realistically do. So what would be, say, your first, just to recap as a summary, what would be your first step, very first step, if somebody wanted to get involved in this?
Cool. So number one, if you're tuning into this now and you love the idea of getting into property for the first time, then get yourself to www.assetsforlife.co.uk, and I've got some free training resources on the website. Have a look at the events section, and we run lots of events online, in person, And my recommendation would be come to hang out at one of the events.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah,
Really
get,
good.
get to know us, see what you feel. We're not everyone's cup of tea, fair enough. But that would be the first step. And then if you like it, then look to explore some type of advanced training with us, one of our 3-day advanced trainings perhaps, and who knows, perhaps we'll mentor you one day and go from there. And we're talking about multiple streams of income here. That is just the start. So this is what I believe everyone should strive to do. Have a good job or have a good business. If your business is bad and your job is bad, cut loose, get into something else. Okay, don't just have it to survive, right? But hey, I love business, so have a great business, have a great job. Focus in on assets, and then all the money that you make from a good business or from your job or from your assets, then deploy them into other investments, other asset streams.
Yeah.
So put money into perhaps, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor, so this is not advice I'm giving, but maybe you want to go buy some gold, maybe you want to buy some silver, maybe you want to get into some tax-free ISAs and invest in some ETFs. Perhaps you want to...
What's an ETF?
An exchange traded fund.
Okay,
So that's where you're getting funds on the market. So rather than buying individual companies, which can be risky, I prefer to put my money into ETFs. So you're investing into a fund like the S&P 500, or you invest into a gold fund or an equity fund or a property fund, and then that tracks the market for you. So that's just something that I like to do. Maybe you want to get involved with watches, maybe you want to go and buy classic cars, but it's important to deploy your money into faster moving vehicles where your money is going to work for you. So you work hard, you make money, you deploy money. You work hard, make money, deploy money, and then get your money working for you. Use the power of compounding. And, if I can be making 10 to 20% a year on my investments, well, at 20%, you compound that, which you keep investing the profits, you double your money every 4 years. I'm pretty good with that. I think I read somewhere about Warren Buffett. He says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you work until you die. Yeah. His average return every year is just under 20%.